World Boss was a free-to-play first-person shooter game by Playside, the developers of the isometric action game Kill Knight, the Warcraft 3 and Battle for Middle-earth inspired RTS game Age of Darkness, and the upcoming FPS Mouse PI for Hire. World Boss first released in October 2022 in early access, before officially launching in June 2023 and has now shut down in late March 2026. World Boss had a unique concept. Every match is a 14-player free-for-all experience in which the most dominant player becomes the world boss. That player has more health and shield than the rest and has to defend himself against all other players. Those players have one goal, to hunt down the world boss and hopefully become him. At launch there were no additional goals or alternative game modes. This was a bit of a problem. Once players became world boss, they quickly lost the motivation to play since there wasn't anything to do besides defending the title. Matches in World Boss had no real ending and were just constantly going on till the players quit from boredom. This also meant that matches could be pretty unbalanced. Players could level up constantly during the matches and unlock up to 25 different perks. Somebody entering a new match was therefore always at a disadvantage in the beginning against those players who had already unlocked a bunch of perks for more health, stronger weapons or better movement abilities. I also have to point out that perks might have been a cool idea and allowed you a great variety of different setups, since you could choose between 4 random perks at every level up in a match. Matches, however, were way too hectic to properly choose perks during them. I never had time to even attempt to actually read the descriptions for them, while I was already being shot again from other players. I often found myself with 3 to 5 different level ups and only a handful of seconds to choose them. A cool concept, but not a great execution. It took the developers nearly a year after launch till they actually gave players a real end goal besides just being the world boss. If you killed enough players as a world boss, you got the chance to contaminate parts of the map via nuclear containers, while all other players had to stop the world boss from doing so. If the world boss succeeded, the matches would now actually end instead of just going on forever. While previously a lot of players just ignored the world boss due to his superior stats, they now had an incentive to actually team up against him, which made it far from easy for the world boss to actually win. This was actually an improvement, but I'm afraid it came too late. At this point the player base had already shrunk to a daily player peak of around 100 and didn't manage to ever recover. A big reason for this was also the bad launch state of World Boss. Most players experienced performance issues and frequent game crashes. Those crashes were even more annoying since they only patched in reconnect options with the Endgoal update. Not many players had the patience to try to become World Boss if frequent crashes could immediately wipe all progress. Let's also take a short moment to talk about the actual gameplay of World Boss. I think it can be best described as decent. But some people comparing it to mobile games, probably also because of the cartoonish visuals. I certainly wouldn't go that far, but it's safe to say the World Boss was no AAA game. I like the fast pace, but I don't think movement or gunplay felt as snap-on and fluent as they do in the best games. It wasn't bad, but it also was certainly no Apex Legends or Call of Duty. Apart from the whole free-for-all game mode, the gameplay probably contributed to this game being very chaotic. It was enjoyable, but I could never have seen World Boss as a go-to game for me. A single game mode and only 1 to 2 maps also showed an enormous lack of content in the game. Playside tried to compensate the lack of gameplay content with the amount of cosmetic content added to the game. This combination obviously also rubbed people the wrong way. There were plenty of skins available in the shop and even a battle pass at some point. I've even heard people accusing the game of stealing skins from Fortnite. While there were some similarities between a couple of those, I think the accusation is a bit far-fetched. Another point of controversy was the involvement of the 2 streamers Lazarbeam and Fresh with the development of World Boss. Both were apparently very involved with consulting for the game during the development process, similar to Shroud of Spectre Divide and Asmongold for Rumble Club. Same as Shroud with Spectre Divide, however, they both played and promoted their game for 1 week and then never mentioned it ever again. It does make people wonder, if this is Lazarbeam's and Fresh's game, why do they never even play their own game? While their big names might initially help to promote those products, the lack of enthusiasm or effort could also have a very negative signaling effect for players. That being said, it was at least one of the better games actively promoted by streamers as their own games. Spectre Divide from Shroud was actually great, and World Boss was at least somewhat good. Rumble Club from Asmongold was rather poor. I also reviewed it on this channel. Link in the description and at the end of the video. Dead Drop, the game from Dr. Disrespect, was so bad it already got cancelled, and Transience from Big Fry also looks absolutely awful. It's especially funny how content creators like Asmongold and Big Fry are extremely critical of mediocre or sometimes even good games, and yet they want to lure their fans into way worse games to exploit their personal popularity for monetary gain. World Boss had a fresh and unique concept, which varied from the usual FPS game modes. A good concept, however, is not enough, and the launch in early access left much to be desired. The developers did eventually fix the rough technical status and also give the game a real purpose with the Endgoal update. But by this point, the player base had already abandoned the ship. It once again shows that too many developers sacrifice a good first impression in order to chase a quick buck in early access. I did enjoy the game for what it was, but without the interesting concept, it probably would have only been a mediocre game. World Boss gets a 6.5 out of 10 from me. In this sense, thanks for watching the video, and I hope to see you in the next one.